Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. One of the things that make people who they are their experiences. The things that we do, the things that we participate in while we're here, that builds our character, that dictates our decisions, that makes us look at what we're doing in the world is the right way we're supposed to go. Some of us strive to be better. Some of us try to be worse. The experience is one of the attributes that comes along with life. Example, if a person gets up every day, brush their teeth, take a shower, go to work, come home, watch a little TV, eat, and go to bed. If they do that every day for 40 years, that's going to be their experience in life. If they come across a person who's never done that or spent their time on earth doing something else, in American culture with the so-called African American or Negro, when they meet somebody like that, they're of the devil, they don't know, they stupid, whatever. When in reality, all that's happening is they're not a part of what's going on, or they're not a part of that experience that that person who gets up every day for 40 years does. And there's a lot of people out there, a lot of your family members, a lot of your children, a lot of us are like that. You're going to meet people in your life who are connected with life-giving properties and who are connected with death, which means is they keep everything dead. Nothing is allowed to grow. Nothing is allowed to express themselves. You meet a person who's trying to be a better person, and they run into a person that don't want them to receive that, don't want them to grow, want them to be an idiot their whole lives. And we have people like that. We have people like that. The reason that we're here, and it's not my job to tell you what you're here to do, that's your job to figure it out. But today we're gonna get some information from a brother who's lived all facets of life, who many of us call all kind of names, nothing good. He reminds me of most brothers that I meet, including myself, that people don't give the time of day. He reminds me, not by his actions, but what I see every day, of the brothers who's disillusioned by everything that's in their face. Well, this brother's not disillusioned at all. So I wanted to share his mind with you. A lot of you know him. Listen to what the brother says. He's not telling you what to do. He's not telling you what to believe. He's just offering you a way to look at things in a different point of view that hopefully will expand the point of view that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome to African Americans Ain't Africans, Jim Red Wolf. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Alito, what's going on, family? How are you, bro?
Oh, man. Everything is cool. So this is why I wanted to share him with you. This is why. I was listening to this brother give a lie, and he said on this pandemic joke.
Yeah, for real.
He said, "Fuck 6 feet. I need 10."
I'm gonna get a beer for this one, eh?
Right. And so I wanted you to share this, brother, because I listen to this brother speak sometimes. It's like, damn, we got brothers like this all over the place, but they're ignored because they speak. They see what's happening, and they're trying to share that information. And you're about to get some of it this afternoon. What's going on, brother?
Well, hey, not much, man. Appreciate that wonderful introduction. And you know, the brother's he's not telling a lie. I love to say different perspective. That way we can base our opinions off of what we receive if we are diligently researching the information shared. Brother Kerry has always, I had my differences early on because I really wanted to see where he's coming from. I let my grandma listen to him. She said, outside the head said, he sounds just like nighttime. Boy, you better. So I was like, you know what? I started really paying attention because I had to go through this little thing on my own for a year and a half, almost 2 years now, where I realized I was not mature, regardless of my military service, being an ambassador, working with the special community in the military. And yeah, I had to pull that out. I couldn't breathe down there. Turn a little air on right quick. And I had to say to myself, wow, I'm always telling myself I'm old school, but I was approaching it wrong. And brother Kerry here, he always kept it 100. It didn't matter how he came across. You know, it didn't matter. Those of us who are in touch with our both sides, male and female, you know, all that don't matter. It's up here. What's cognitive and right here was true. And see, people can't take those two foundations and bring them together. Why? Because one is derived off the emotions and the other one off the feelings. So we know that this brings a lot of feelings and this stirs a lot of emotions that excites the ego, no matter what disparity the ego has. See, we live in a time where truth is coming around. Hell, the Hopi talked about it for many years until recently, up to about 8 years ago. The story started changing and more pale-skinned kids in the Hopi Nation started telling the story as if it was a child's place to do that, when that was never. It was always the oldest son selected and the eldest daughter. And they were taught not only how to fight, they were also the only ones given the jaguar drop of blood and the cashew or the walnut milk, black walnut milk. And a little piece of black nodule burnt and added to their vegetarian diet that made them pure and strong. These people, they were known to run miles beyond miles, to be able to hear over miles, and to be able to see in the dark when most couldn't. They were trained for this, something that's in our DNA. I look at what people are talking about, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. There's a couple others out there. And I've witnessed in the last 15 years how the African-American diagram has been pushed. And in the last 2 years, been pushed to its obsolete. I mean, to this minute, to it's not going to change. With the media, those who they were put in place and say they are our leaders, and they're not. And the conditioning that furthers the instability within our people, within our nation. We don't even know that we're a nation, because how can we know when all we have been raised and reared in are lies? I see people being very emotional and steeped in their feelings without no truth, not even an abstract of truth. I see people carry on in ways that are demeaning. If you want to use the word racism, colorism, whatever it is, that is the biggest of the fool's complexity. That is their science. And if you think not, those like myself, those of you like myself who have studied science, biology, and all those other things, how many times have you come across where error was not involved? Any of us in the Aboriginal, Indigenous, or whatever you want to call it, so-called movement, which is not a movement, it's a gathering. It's a family reunion going on, and many are exposed and not allow themselves to partake in this. So they can't receive this information, or they'll deny it or poof it away. But in this whole diaspora of what's going on, nobody wants to listen to what science and all that stuff is. It's error. It is not harmony. It is not balance. It is an impromptu pseudo ideology and a narrative that most live their lives by just by being U.S. citizens and not understanding what it means or anything else, because their lives are consumed. Their entire lives are consumed in a lie, regardless of the barbecues, the so-called family reunions, the schools you went to, the most expensive car you have. I have a 2020 Chevy Silverado. That does not make me. I bought it because of the insurance and everything else that goes with it, the drivetrain, the miles on that. So I know in 5 to 6 years, besides the fact that next year I'll trade this one in for the newer model, and my payments will go down because I understand the economy and how it works. You know, the things that we should have been taught, we were never allowed, and it was through fear, it was through psyops, it was through marketing and lies, and all that is about war. And most of our people don't even understand they're still in a war, but they're fighting each other. I'm not telling anybody. I would never express to anybody go down and burn up the municipality building and the courthouse, and that is just foolish. The majority of y'all aren't even prepared to fight no kind of war whatsoever. And I'm retired military, and I guarantee you when I tell you this, there are brothers out there who are pale skinned who love us to death. But when it comes to the delusion and the fractured thing on our nation, they're disturbed by it. There are many pale skins I know who know exactly who we are. They used to talk about their great grandpa used to have a jar of fingers, and they detested them. They didn't want none. Their grandpa didn't go to the funeral once they learned what the story was and why. And it was always a laughing matter. But we got to keep them away from their land. But we can't allow them to believe they're who they are, even if they have a slight guess. And this is on the East Coast, especially down south. See, I know these Marine and Army kids who come to me and talk all the time, going, "Wow, you look Indian." What does the Indian look like? And I love when Carrie addressed that some time ago, a couple of years ago, was it, Carrie?
Yeah, man.
you broke it down pretty good, and you know, because we live in this, like I said, this diaspora we live in is nothing but a lie, a vehicle of oppression with no sentiments, brought on by the Jews, the Zionists who control the Vatican, the Sephardics in Spain, the Sephardics in Iran, the Sephardics in Mongol, the Sephardics in Europe, all of them. And I visited every one of those countries: Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, Mallorca, Palma, Brazil, Spain, Chile. I've been all over. Hong Kong.
So this is what I mean.
And when I said who I was, there were no doubt, especially in Morocco.
Yes. So
they greeted me with all kind of gifts. As an ambassador too. Directed as an ambassador by the skipper to do certain things.
So this is what this is what I think has to be put across. So all those places you named that
yes.
you've been to,
yes.
Many of us don't go to those places. Many of us don't leave our cities.
Yes.
I mean, I'm from Los Angeles, and I can find people that'll tell you they've never been to the beach.
Yeah, 50-some years old, my teeth still like steel.
Man, you can't do that, man. You better sit down. You can't do that.
I got all of them.
Yeah, when you have that experience of what you had just going to those places, I'm not talking about the other things that you may have experienced while you were there.
Right.
When you have that experience of just going to those different places and getting comfortable there and having the people there realize who you are, when you're dealing with the average person who gets up and go to work every day for 40 years, they look at you like you're a what?
You mean the subtleness?
I'm talking about just you. I mean, you just opened the bottle of beer with your
Most people come and ask me, and even in the military, because you remember I took a different oath. I took an original oath.
Right.
That was by the Confederacy.
Right.
And it was deemed not by a flag, but for a republic and for the democracy. And it had nothing to do with Republican parties or this, that, and other. But when I went in there under that, knowing as an American Indian, people used to come to me and say, "What languages do you speak?" I had Native Americans who swarmed around me when I went out in town because they said, well, we know he can fight without even knowing. They hung with me because they wanted to hear stories that I learned from my great grandma, my great great uncle.
Right.
And what my grandma always told me as a child. I come from a family with a little fame in it, a lot of money. Johanna Wright, head of board of education on the East Coast, up there in the Oranges. God damn it, fell. Anyway, Lonnie Smith passed away 5-6 years ago. Denver Broncos. John Amos, Good Times, Kansas City Chief. You know, Roots, all that shit. It's all Hollywood. Uncle, I can keep going on, but I'm not going to. Used to go to church with Whitney Houston, a whole lot of other idiots. Twin City Breakdancer, movie Beach Street. I didn't like that life, so I started selling drugs. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I wanted to, because I was lost. Regardless of all that information, I was attempting to keep up with everybody else, though I knew different. We didn't use black when I was growing up. All that terms. Everybody said they had a little Indian in them. They said this is what my big mama, or my mama, or my mammy said. You know. But I grew up knowing that I was just Indian. I had a little Jewish, a little French. Dutch, all those people now are the same Mongols. They're all the same people. Don't let them fool you because they say they're from Germany, they're from England, and this, that, and the other. They're Jewish. Jewish is the hierarchy of the whole population. They don't even call themselves white because they call themselves black because they know exactly that's who they are. Not the Americanized ones. Some of the ones right here. All right. Excuse me. I'm going to the range later. I want to have my baby girl nice and clean. But most people, when I came home from the military, I saw a lot of this black nationalist stuff happen. And at that time, it was hard for me because whether I was in New York, Jersey, wherever, it's like when I go to the libraries, I will always find stuff that stated, as far as looking at Moorish history, Germany and all those places, and when I was over there, I was always able to find the coat of arms and what black attained to. And though it might have been in Greek or whatever else, it applied to the pale skins. Stuff still in the libraries. Just don't know, a lot of people don't know where to look. As far as the relevance to history, we go to where we're programmed to seek out those things based on Apollo moon landing, this, that, and the other. I'm here to tell you, we've got to backtrack. We got to fall back. And if you want to be from Africa, make sure, just like people saying, don't get them with that DNA stuff. Like I said, I was pre-med. If you come with DNA, talk about your ancestors going back 4 or 5 years, and you don't even know where they're buried at, bullshit. Complete bullshit. So whenever somebody used to pass that off, say, well, okay, well, you got some Native American in you, it's obvious. No, I got having some of you motherfuckers in me. You got some of this Aboriginal bloodline. They didn't know what to say. And if they wanted to make an argument point, I always ignore those who would argue or those who would troll. Ignore them I'm gonna never respond. There are people who are paid to do that. And knowing that, and then being in the military and traveling the world and having all those truths from the Gregorian College and Italy to all these different facets of information from the main college campus library was allowed to go into in 1987, 88 in Chile. We're all there. We're all there. These I'm gonna state this from what I learned from a friend of mine who just came back from Africa, who was in the military, retired, works. He's been his doctor over here, getting ready to retire. Bowman, very good friend of mine. He was in Alabama. He didn't like it there, so I think he's in Texas now. And he stated how when he was at home, he realized what's going on with the education system. They're not teaching them about us now. The enemy feels like he has nothing to fight. The truth of who we are, how righteous and how good, and the things that we've created. The majority of stuff you see in the world, it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us. I worked at the Thomas Edison building in East Orange, New Jersey. I worked on the first floor and the second and third floor. I rode the freight train that was initially created by a couple of kids. And the brothers who were still alive then, when I was working there, who were about 100 years old, 90, who worked there as kids, would always state, hell, we pretty much built the entire building. I mean, you want to talk about masons and all that kind of stuff, and you want to go back into the history of what here is ours, the big homes, all that down south. The Pelicans didn't believe that. Don't believe the Waltons and all that shit. We done moved to a land and we done built us a great big house. That's not their work. How many of y'all been to England and looked at everything else? They said the firebombing of World War II and World War I, all that nonsense. They said they had to recreate. No, you got to remember, they came here. They didn't even know how to use the toiletry over there. They had piss and urine just like they did when they came to New York, coming out the windows, all in these little sumps, all over the place, because they did not know what we knew, and that was how to get rid of our body's fluids. See, there are so many details in the mix and nobody pays attention to. When I was in Edinburgh, Scotland, they had this trail with 12 drinks. Dumbest thing I ever did in my life. And all these, I'm talking about the real Masonic, Scottish Rite motherfuckers. I'm talking about no smiles, dead ass. You can see some of them, you can see the bruises and the scars of the wars. We're talking about God, in our 20s. These people were in their 60s. And they said, if you can drink that, we'll listen to you. But the joke wasn't the fact that it wasn't about finishing. It was like, if you can drink that. I would tell you, I got to the 11th one and said I had to pee. I felt fine. I stood up, busted my behind. And they all laughed and they embraced me because I was always talking about what did the indigenous people here look like? And they would all look at each other and never say that. But once I fell, busted my ass, and I laughed, and I was the only one at this bar. They picked me up, set me down in the booth, and they started lecturing. What the word Scotch mean? See, we say Scottish, Scotch. What it mean? What it was likened unto, just like the Twa. It seems like recent history, they've been saying the Twa were of Africa, which is a lie. We know the majority of the Twa that weren't killed off by King St. Patrick fled and were taken to Africa. Because see, Africa, so-called Africa today, when it was Mesopotamia, Abyssinia, and all them different places like that, Ethiopia became slave farms of those pushed out of all the places up north. Germany, England, Greece, all those places, Italy. They fought strong in Sicily. That's why Sicily remained a separate part of Italy. People don't like that history because they haven't seen it, they haven't read it. I'm here to tell you the books you're going to pick up in bookstores. When you go over there to Walden Bookstore or whatever one, I'm getting all these notifications. Any of those, you're going to get stuff that is revisions, people's opinions, not stuff steeped in science, but what they claim their science. And it's always some pale skin. And the Negroes who are partaking in this now, look them up, look up their profile. That's all you got to do. I'm not going to sit here and put out names, look up their profiles, look up their history, if they haven't manipulated that much, and you will start seeing things for what they are. You are the Amerindian. You are the original people of this continent. And if you want to acclimate yourself to those who came over here before Columbus, his black ass, or mulatto ass, whatever you want to call it. Pictures I've seen, he's black as midnight, but he's dark as midnight. I hate that word black. You know what I'm saying? His brother was mahogany, and he was Portuguese at that. Seeing all that information, and even seeing Abraham Lincoln in a different light than the 5 or 6 pictures they always show. Wouldn't you think a president, when the cameras are working, they would have thousands of pictures?
Right. People
aren't paying attention to the smallest of detail. Kerry always point these things out, and he always came across the way I come across now, hard. Why? And harsh. Because we don't need people who are emotionally unstable. Get your shit together. If you got to get someone their goddamn cop-out meds, get them. Get your chemicals back in order. Start teaching your kids the truth. Women, stop getting these damn, because see, now people conditioned, they believe it's all right. But you need to fight it. Stop getting these damn Social Security cards, these birth certificates. Get a letter or a certificate of life. If it's a Social Security card, make a statement back to them. What does this apply to? Do not lie to me. Be in the knowledge of what it actually invokes. Okay, know these things, because there are Social Security cards with a different color bind that pretty much just like, if you don't have your kid get a license. He can drive without that goddamn license. And if he gets pulled over, you take it to court, excuse me, and you let it be known. You got your certificate of life, Social Security card's got the certain little green, whatever that I think is red on it. And the license plate that you wear in that vehicle pretty much state that you don't need it. because unless you're working in e-commerce or commerce, then that's a different thing. You need to drive their vehicles. This is what they don't teach. See, we have accepted everything they've given. So what makes you think you have not accepted the history about you and your people that they gave you? Is not a lie.
So what are the effects of this social experiment? Because it sounds like you're talking about a social experiment. What are the effects of that social experiment?
Discord, denial, not even based on plausibility, but accepted denial, a remittance of everything that fundamentally is ours. And without focus or direction, we have, and I say this as we, because even though many of us are in the know, it doesn't mean that we are all full of all the information or knowledge.
Right.
But all together, let's put it like this, together,
right,
we are a testament to the truth. And that is what people are missing.
Right.
Okay? So we are a despot. We are a people who are always needing. And we're seeking the wrong things for comfort when we're supposed to be seeking one another with an open mindedness, an open heart, and able to listen. And if there are those of us who can, because there are, take our brothers and sisters by the hand, and if they're willing, lead them in the right direction for the official information, for the proper references and sources of information, so that way they can sit there and they don't have to get mad, angry, mad like a wild animal. Angry is being fine, but they don't have to rage and all that kind of stuff against the machine they know nothing about nor understand, but they can come to their wits to understanding who they really are and then start doing the proper work there. It's going to be a little harder now because they've had a little while watching a lot of us. Just like they changed Google up, Wikipedia, they had a hard time, Bling and all that. How they went against the law, and now the platform of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, are all pretty much ran by the same people.
Right.
Our history is still here, and if you deny your history, and it's not to dismiss those who believe Africans and their family, but like I was going to say earlier, prove that the Africans are in your family. Don't give me that, from the west coast, the West Barbary coast of Africa. Don't give me that, because they were always taking our people over there to work the plantations, to grow the stuff that never grew there, and then bringing them back.
Right.
Forth.
Right.
We're a hodgepodge. I probably have some Haitian, some Jamaican bloodline in my family, because there was an Arawak and Taino are the original people of Haiti and now and Jamaica, and then all them places down there. And even the Dominican Republic, Cuba. People don't want to know this, but this is the truth.
No, I understand that, because somebody makes a label for something and we get emotionally attached to that.
Like we can't let go. Like
right.
it's real. We got to hold on to it. But you know what they say about a baby and the mommy and daddy's voice, right?
No.
And when we hold the baby and we look at them, it's like the baby is looking at the heavens, the stars, and they're not planets, but celestial stars. And they're looking at them and they can see everything they had just came from, as far as our sky people.
Wow.
The observatories and everything like that are not looking at planets. They're looking for our ancestors. They want to conquer what y'all say God. When y'all look at those religions, Bibles, those are shrouds around our truth. Nobody wants to learn about the story of the comet and the long tail. They don't want to learn about the delusions and the famines and how we saved the world, how we built buildings that could withstand tumultuous storms and all kind of stuff that will long last after many floods. We had more than one flood. Why is it that gopher wood only grows in America? Why are the Grand Canyons not as old as they say they are? Why is it in the last 2 decades we've had over 12 cataclysms where mountains as steep as 400 to 500 feet popped up in 30 minutes? Sinkholes as big as a quarter of the moon, and yet they don't want to put it on record because we're so busy believing in all their lies when there's so many of them who told the truth. Like the first man that went up in the balloon. What did he say about the planet? The same as one of the Apollo astronauts. He says, I looked out, I peered out, and he died in one of the damn. So you wonder why he died. But anyway, he said, I looked out and I saw a disc, Earth, nothing but a disc. See, our stories are transient to that. So that's our story.
Right.
The word show in Yiddish is not Yiddish word at all. Just like when we say raccoon belonged to a tribe and a great people. You know, the pig, the cow, and the chicken, they having us eating that mercilessly, and that has nothing to do with us nor gives us strength.
Check.
It's not even indigenous here. And we didn't eat rats and rodents. We didn't eat dogs and cats. We had palominos. We had all kind of horses here. Why do you think they made us the cowboys? To just break the horses? No, to teach them how to fucking ride.
Y'all don't hear this moaning.
I ride with the best of them. I used to side saddle and all that. Hang upside down, the fucking horse get hit in the head by the hook. So I realized that was Hollywood. And the Jewish blood in my family, and those who I used to go to Brooklyn and hang out with, whether it be South, Klein, Suffolk, it didn't matter. Those Jews, they married into our family because they were busy trying to find a place where they could be protected because they were being hunted. And many Jews are not bad, but there are so many, just like so many of us, who are bought into these groups, these societies, these broken septic systems, and they don't want to let go because they've been raised and reared in those lies and not taught from their childhood, not reared and raised to be younger brothers and sisters. See, our mothers and fathers brought us into this world not to have as children all our lives, but to bring us in as their next brothers and sisters, and to cultivate and make sure that we knew how to take care of the earth, and their time was up, just like that. And we are not part of that. We have become enslaved in a society that cares nothing about what we believe, what we think, who we are. They have become so immersed in themselves. And this is part of our prophecy. We knew this would happen. And many of the stories they think they know, they were lied to as well. And they're too busy still digging and finding out. And at the same time, they can't lie forever. And so many of the digs have put us right here, always. The old world, the first world. And people could take that and they can blow smoke. They could throw it off this way and that way. What was it about because Mother Earth can sustain all things and maintain herself, but if man is so busy digging in her back, looking for her bloodline, tearing up those things that are staples of life and balance and order, and have an order to it, and they want to put a crack in the order so they can, that error in the order, so that they can do the things they're doing. When our ancestors knew it was unnecessary. Man, to move 200 tons of stone didn't take no petrol, didn't take no oil. This is the pollutant. This is what we call the hybridization. This is the genetic change. This is what breaks down the molecular structure of Earth. But are they? Only if we feed and give our energy to those lives. This is what they're doing. They've got us caught up so much in the price of gas and oil, and just like the question there, which is a very good question. But those things are just the beginning, sinkholes, because they dug under there. Or she's tired and she's making a statement and she ain't showing you what the greatness of what she really can do. Mother Earth could take all lands and submerge them if she needs to. See, we want to believe that we're the only sentient being. Excuse me. The animals we kill, fill. The trees we chop down, fill. The rocks tell stories because they've been here the longest. Just like the water. And again, like I said, we can placate, we can dismiss, we can allow things to run off. Or we can start gathering ourselves together. And if people are so much separative or so much divided, then be at it. Because those of us who know better, who sit down and discuss these stories and understand the time, like first of all, we have the Julian, now we have the Gregorian calendar. Why are they so busy trying to create the time around them? I grew up, my great-grandpa used to always say, my great-great-uncles and my great-grandpa used to always say, it was 364 years. Why don't we get 365 years? And they'd be lost. And they would think on it. It says, wow, they've done it again, something else. And I used to be like, what is he talking about? It's 365 days in the year. Like, that's crazy. Then I started looking at February 28, 29. Then I started looking at these months with 30 and 31. I started going, wait a minute. So one day I sit down and do the math. And I started realizing that our people didn't sit in one place. They followed the sun, the path. They followed the good water. They followed. We knew all this land. It's like they made us believe hundreds of languages were spoken on this land. Bullshit. What was that word I spoke about in a live video, brother? Magyar?
Yes.
An ancient language that was spoke all over the world. Well, who do you fuck think took it around the world? When the Hatta people visited Japan long before Japan took it to the Inuit people. Those African, those big Afro, they say come from Africa, but they're not. They're the original people of Japan who built great temples that still stand without pins, pegs, iron ore, or anything. But they knew how to stack where they could withstand earthquakes and everything, floods. Why is the people have a hard time understanding the Giza pyramids are the youngest on the earth, but they made everybody else think they're the oldest?
Right.
Because they saw Elizabeth Taylor and Charlton Heston and the flood and all that other bull crap. That's them damn Jews and Zionists.
Where we get our education from, how
exactly.
we
Why
start.
that people don't know that Theodore Teddy Roosevelt was a goddamn Jew? His Mexican Spanish was American, the so-called American Spanish War was to exterminate us, just like they tried to do in Oklahoma on Negra Wall Street. Look it up.
So where are these schools starting over here? Because I say the schools are a joke. How do we get into this model of teaching our
homeschooling? First of all, we need to understand, and this is what was so hard about when I say we've been conditioned to accept what we don't have to. When they remove us from our entitlement, all the treaties are notwithstanding. If they were, you think they'd be doing the shit they do to all these so-called Native Americans? No, our Native American brothers are our family. Some of them ain't. Some of them are Asians who are left here from the Philippines, this, that, and other, who are Tartarian. Part of the Tartarian forces came here to conquer. A lot of the Mongols got a fake history too, but our families are incorporated in their families. Trust me, I've been on too many reservations, and I've seen it with these. And we fight because of conditioning. So getting back to the question, you know what's the hardest thing for me to do, Kerry? It's to go on and on and on, knowing that all people need to understand is we need to really come the fuck together. And if you want to be African for the time being, so be it. If you want to be from this place to that place, or you wanted to be dismissive, how about let's just come together regardless? We don't have to have Antifa and Black Lives Matter and no fucking not in for any fucking longer the NFAC bull crap. Those are a bunch of idiots. We need to come together with a basic structure of understanding without being so emotional. Okay, we're all willing to listen. Fuck them aside that debate and all that foolishness, because that's a card in his hand itself. That's a catch-22. Number cannon fodder to keep people running in circles. We need to come together. And right now we got sisters and brothers in Texas. I was gonna go over there, but I got somebody to come to see me, and I ain't rich, and I got to hold on to some coin. But they're about it, and we need to be more about it. We need to come together. We need to actually set up a date and a forum, a place where it's not so much mouth bread, but we could connect and conversate. Me and Kerry are, and say, hey, look, where's the most central place where people who are working can take the time and make the trip and come together with documents, information, books, and we all set them up on a table, and then have each individual in that lecture, not to lecture you into something, but to lecture about facts with questions and be able to respond without being emotional or in our feelings, not being intrusive to one another, but break that which we have been conducive to. Communication, real communication. This is what we need, not what we're doing right here. This is great for planting seeds, because there's always going to be those individuals who say yes, and there's always going to be those individuals who says, because we've got to learn a way, and it takes us all together to reach out to those who have a hard time listening, accepting, or understanding. And that is a simple fact. I just wanted to cut through all that other stuff because we really, and I'm telling you from a military standpoint, I have to use this because it's part of my life. And from a prophecy standpoint, if we lag and don't adhere to certain things that some speak on, then we're like Jonah in the city of Nineveh. We become Jonah in the end. Even with the presence of that which encapsulated or enslaved, this is a metaphor. And even when they repented and he was told such, he was angered because he knew the evils in that city, and he chose to again go against his creator. See, there was an order, and he wanted to fight against it. Now, y'all know I'm not no religious motherfucker. I don't believe in no Bible. Listen, I know it's a shroud around our history. It's been put out there and separated and divided because to keep us running in circles or bumping into walls. It takes a handful of us to come together to see it because we understand a different truth. And we have been around the world and we have attained enough information. I'm going to share something with you right now. Carrie, you're aware of this. I wasn't going to do this because I didn't feel I didn't need to. All right?
Okay, I just want to speak to the audience for a minute, to the listeners in the chat. So what you think? This brother giving you some information that's opening up some other things that you want to think about? Listening to what he's saying?
Some people get upset when I sit there and say, well, I was always known as an Indian and accepted by all tribes and nations. And even those who ignorantly argued, and then they go and start researching my papers and my information. I tell them, hey, look, my information's out there. You can pull it up. Go ahead. I give you, pay the $16 and everything, and then they don't come back and say nothing. They actually remove themselves from certain groups or they stop commenting on my statement.
Right.
This has happened a number of times. All right. This is a great book. I'm going to share with you guys. This is for heightening sense of awareness to see other things. Now, there's books you need to read before this. Okay, but this one right here, Stigma, Notes on the Management of Spoiled Identity by Irving Goffman. This is another Jew, but you want to read something? This is not a bad guy. The social construct or experiment we're living in, a great source of information to help you have a little more, put it back up there, a little more understanding, okay? I remember this is all reversed here. Sorry about that, guys. And it's by, you see the name down the bottom there? I'm on my fourth time reading this. Still a lot. For somebody who's pre-med and studied law and everything, it's kind of hard. Some of the things are, and when I read it again, I see something else. I highlight stuff. Now, this book I found very entertaining. This is a signed copy by McNally Robinson and Grace Lee Jiwoo. Okay, Grace Lee Jiwoo. Ghost Dancing with Colonialism, Decolonization and Indigenous Rights at the Supreme Court of Canada. Excellent friggin' book. Excellent friggin' book. And if you want to get into Native Americans and Africans and Native Americans, get into it because in that book, it starts chipping away the African American and showing you the Indian. So the Arawak. Now I've got a few books based on the Arawak and the Taino. The Arawak and the Taino are two of the same people, like Chickasaw and the Choctaw of the Yamasee. Of the Yamasee is the Yama Nation. Okay, that's what I have on my truck, the Yama Nation, which I belong to. All right. But I had a CIB. So there's a difference because of Ananoia, my mom, because I was able to go back 8 generations. And I think my family don't even know all that because they're too busy ignorant trying to keep up with the Joneses. Not all of them. My Uncle Gary in Detroit, soon to be 87, 88. He's the one that gave me so much information when I was in the military. This guy's like 6'5". I don't want to get into it. But he looks like that, like Chief Hanshaw, just like my grandpa, Nighttime, George Knight. But this book is excellent. Small, but it's excellent. Okay. For those of you who know, I'm an ex-Navy. This brother right here, very good brother. Read about Chief Goggins, all right, and what he still pushes today. Now, everybody knows about 1942, 1492. But how many of y'all have taken it to the next step and says, oh, well, ain't that before 1492? And decided to get 14 1491 and 1493. This right here and explicitly will break down and help a lot of y'all in your ideologies. And there's plenty more books out there. The Book of America, the Library of Congress just found out not too long ago they shut the second floor down. Why? Can't pull it up. I've talked to people in New York. I asked them, hey, have you been over to Washington? Have you been over to Thomas Jefferson Building, Library of Congress? Yeah, man, but it's still closed. I'm like, what? Well, that was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it's still closed now. But why would you cut off the second floor with all our history there? 7 miles of history and books and everything else, economics, whatever, of America. I don't really need it. I know how to start a fire 14 different ways, how to get water using plastics and stuff like that. How many of y'all are ready for when shit hits the fan? All right. I just want to know. I'm about to change this out and put a binary one in, so when I go forward and back, it goes pa 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 pa, just like a fully automatic. So I'm about to click on that. This is good to go.
What made you start searching or looking into yourself to get all of this stuff that you've experienced in life?
Excellent question. Reason why Roots came out in 1980.
70.
78. Wasn't it 78?
Somewhere around there.
Movie. All right. Well, I know it came out before Star Wars. Anyway, when that came out and I watched that with the family, I remember me and one of my brothers going, what the fuck is this? And then we saw John Amos in there and we're like, they're going, oh. And we didn't even know the movie was coming out. What the fuck is this? You know, going down here, Whitney used to sing and blah, blah, you know, hanging out, you know, with some of the Fugees before they became the Fugees when they're kids and all that. You know, some more Rasta, my Jamaican brothers and all that. I couldn't, that was the first time the shit hit. All I ever knew was we was Indians, we were on our land. We had a good life. That's all I knew. Regardless of child abuse and everything else. All I knew. Until that point. And then I started going, what's that? And then we started incorporating that shit in our family. It takes one generation to change shit, but it's 3 to 4 generations in that one generation.
Right.
See, people don't understand there's only 3 generations a century. But in those generations, you can have 12 to 16.
Right.
People don't understand this because they don't like to do the math. They don't like to hear something that's going to relegate them to some kind of truth and bring forth something that would inspire them for greater, but not greater than anything or anyone, but greater of stuff.
Why is that?
Because of our conditioning. We have to dispel, not only dispel, but dismiss our conditioning. Does it mean let it all go? No, because in every story of a lie, there's a story and tell. Look, if I'm the fiddler on the roof, or if I'm the fiddle that makes the mice to direct them somewhere else, who writes the narrative to the story? The fiddle on the roof and the Pied Piper. Well, if I take that flute away from both of them motherfuckers sitting on my roof and walking down my street, the mice stayed fucking England, and that motherfucker on the roof stayed where the fuck they fucking conquered somebody. Right. And they don't come here. So I don't have to hear they crying from the rooftop, and I don't have to hear they crying in the street. And that's what we hear right now. It's still a bunch of cries, but made to look like power.
What do you think we should do? So like you say, I know a lot of people that go overseas, a lot of people go to Brazil, to Europe, Africa. When those people are over there, I know they want to bring back the kente cloth and all that stuff. What are some of the things that we should be looking for when we go to these different countries?
Right now, the shift has been so dramatic. Has been so charged with their form of evolution. What we need to do is listen more to those of us who have the information. And when we're overseas, go where they tell you not to go. Not in the war-torn areas. Don't go getting yourself killed, all right? That's stupid. Because you can and will end up getting killed a lot of places overseas. But go to those places and be inquisitive and ask all kind of questions of those
who have not been touched by the Dutch, the French, and I ain't talking about buying debt. I'm talking about what they hold on to, because many of them are silent but yet powerful in words. Because our history, if you go to Africa, most people won't go to where the truth is. They'll go to these modern cities where they're accepted as who they are, even though they know better. Not the majority, but those on the top. But go out there and some bushmen, safaris, and say, hey, look, can I ask you a question? You speak English? Now take the time to learn their fucking language. They'll love you to fucking, oh my God. Who am I? Am I African? Or am I from America? Now in the 80s, I used to do that. Every tribe or clan I came across, and they said, hey, America, you that's your man over there. You know here, no here, no here. A lot of us not no here. And that's when I started finding out back then in the 80s, a lot of them still knew that they came from fucking Germany and this, that, and other. So you want to talk to the oldest. I don't know what's to come in the next 4 or 5 decades. I don't. You dig what I'm saying? I don't know what's to come. I just know what's coming. And it's a lot of fucking pain. A lot of pain.
So what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I can. A lot of destruction. And I ain't talking about the shit that they're illuminating with movies and all that. They keep giving you a partial of what's real and what's not. They give you what they chaos, and they want to bring order out of chaos when order always existed and still exists. They have to have people who are delusional, who are questioning everything, and not with the right questions, are questioning the right things. They have, as long as they have us lost, they can keep writing the narrative, and the narrative ends abysmally for many. And if they were to succeed because of people's ignorance, yeah, that's a good story. This is a good point to our prophecy. But there's also a bad one. People need to understand there's always two sides to every coin. Always have been, always will be. Just like you have a back and a front, they use that. And they use everything that we've given them as a weapon. And they might take this down, brother, because I'm sharing some things. Most have asked me, yo, you shouldn't talk about that. You shouldn't go, But no, it needs to be heard. Because people don't like talking about this stuff.
Yeah, because I noticed in the social media sphere that a video from one of these entertainment persons get 20 million views in 24 hours.
Yes. But look at Isaiah Thomas sitting down with his NBA brothers telling you, hey, look, we've always been here. Not even from a Moore standpoint. This is our land. And what did they do with him? Oh, he's still doing the show, but what did they do? They silenced him.
Right.
Shaquille O'Neal, full of shit.
Right. What? And that's what I'm saying, man. This dude goes out and saves a pizza franchise where the owners was calling indigenous people niggas. And
yes.
Who knows what they were sending in these communities as food?
Yeah.
This cat goes up and gets on their board and helps guide them out of, make people forget about what the owner had said. I was like, how,
And you know what? And people love that shit.
Yeah.
And for the ones who find out, they love it. That adds more to their fucking drama. Drama is what is drama steeped in? Ego, right?
That's all it is.
And what is it derived from? Emotions and feelings, right? Brought on by the clandestine attempts or acts of drama, right?
Right.
So it keeps the false ego running amok. Self will run riot, right? You would think that people would recognize it in themselves, being so enlightened and enchanted and everything conscious. When people say that, when anybody says they're conscious, first thing I do is I go like this. Just like that egg sizzling in that butter fat. in that skill. That's how conscious you are.
Right.
And they take that the emotions and feelings and the ego forward there and intrepid with it. They become woo. Let's see. People hate talking about because it contradicts their thoughts, beliefs, and anything else they were taught by the European government. Yeah, but we need to remember. I stopped calling them Europeans a long time ago because they don't respect that which they come from, especially us. Because you got to remember, they come from us.
Right.
And most people don't want to accept that, and that's fine. But you know what? What did our ancestors do in the past to have such a prolific effect on them where they are so hateful? Well, if you don't know the story of the light wolf and the dark wolf, how can you move on any further?
Okay, man, do me a favor. Share, since we don't get these stories all the time, share that with us so everybody here will have something, steeped in their culture.
All right. We're going to say our mama Tota, is Lily. We're gonna use names. All right. We're gonna see Kichimanitak and Hatena. Father Sky, Sky People, Mother Earth. Well, Mother Earth came down because the waters were beautiful. Our mother came down. The land hadn't exist, but she envisioned someplace that was so great for us, a paradise. But when she came, she was in the waters of life. You seen them, they say spice. You watch South Park, must get spice. Tom Brady, and it's a turd. It's brown. You need to understand this stuff. And she was held up by the mammals of the sea, the most intelligent creatures on earth. And the turtle, long suffering, because one of her brothers came down and spoke with the turtle deep in the bottom of the oceans. The oceans are very deep. And the tortoise agreed. And she stood up on her pillars, on her legs, so her back would meet the sun. And some dolphins brought Mama Lily to the land. And she walked up. And as she walked, everywhere she stepped, lights sprung up on her back. Kichimanitak. She needed life. And life was created. And how was it created? The Sky People and her. They call it the fallen. And life was abundant. But there were two spirits, two energies. There was the pale wolf and there was the dark wolf. Two sources of energy of life, negative and positive. They say that the yin and yang is comprised of these positive and negative forces. You can't have one without the other. That's a lie. That's all encrypted. There was balance and harmony. But the pale wolf and his siblings became very lazy and kept stealing from their older brother, the dark wolf. Dark wolf was all loving and just kept making more abundantly and told the pale wolf have at it. But they became incestual. They wanted all. They wanted everything and all the people of the dark wolf. So one day when the dark wolf went over there because of Mama Swell, Lily told him that if you do not stop, I will destroy you. So the pale wolf and his lies said, sure, I will stop, brother. There's a love that we don't even understand that was there. One for everything, but all easily lied and manipulated as we do today. So we have no true understanding because, as you'll see as the story goes on, why? So when the dark wolf turned his back, the pale wolf struck out and murdered his older brother. All calamity and hell struck Earth. Later on, the common and the long tail struck the creators, the Sky People, destroying. And we put them behind a wall. We put them in a place called Maleke. What does Maleke mean? Not the Italian, but what does it mean? A place of what? Look these things up. Well, we hear the story of Alexander the Great and all these other people. Do you know what their jobs were? The real stories was to keep them there. Well, we know who defeated who. We know that they traveled out, and that was so-called Midwest Africa. They traveled out in great numbers. And this, we're talking about millenniums. It's a long time that they were kept back there. They loved the flesh. They consumed everything. And they brought it to the world. And we fell to earth because we became too comfortable with our egos and our ignorance and forgot our mother and our father's spaces. We forgot to be true with our hearts. The Dark Tower. I do not aim with my heart. I do not aim with my hand. I aim with my heart. I do not aim with I do not, you know, people don't understand that they've been telling everybody and putting it all out there. So what they did, they became what it was called sand devils. Abyssinia wrote deeply about them and how they plagued to destroy. And everywhere they were taken into, they were taught, and they corrupted everything they were taught. There were great numbers. And they got many of us to betray our own. It's the story of the dark and the pale world, and that's where we're at. But see, the children of the dark will bring everybody back together again. And man, it's going to be hell on earth for those who love the word hell. There's going to be a stipend to garner, a price to pay, a wage to tarry.
But I didn't hear you talk about Jesus.
We're not gonna get into none of that shit. that first of all, Christianos was a pagan god, a deity based on somebody of our ancestors who took many things, scrolls of fighting and everything, just like the people of Hatzanah and everything else, over to the Europe, to Queen of Europe, Europa. And all that has been lost to time, rewritten, fabricated, this, that, and all things have changed. But the true stories are still there. We just don't know where to look. Because they made everything into mythology.
Right.
And they want their world not to be myth when we know that everything they're doing is a myth. Though it's real, it has cause and effect, but it's the way they operate. It's who they are. They're sick. But many of their children have left them because they see them as despots. People don't want to understand that. They don't want to see that. Because we're all off in the different corners of the earth. But all four corners should give up. All the children. And all the children will come together. There's no way around it. Not ethnicities, not crayon colors, and all that bullshit they've created. And whenever people run with those, just know that they're full of shit. Don't get angry and nasty with them. Yeah, full of shit. It's not even worth it. Just know it inside. That's nonsense, and keep it moving. Be with the truth and be with balance. And people have a hard time understanding that meditation is our shit. Meditate, God damn it. Clear your head. It's going to take a while. You know?
You know, one of the things that African Americans ain't Africans, what I try to do is just let the people know that you're in your surroundings.
Yes.
So you're right here. But when you look off to other places, you forget that. You were talking about Negra de Terra. In closing, what's Negra de Terra, and what does that mean for us?
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you their little pseudonym. I'm gonna give you theirs. All right. And then, all right. So let's go ahead. And we all believe it to be a Spanish word, right? Okay. So let's pull this up real quick. It's a little slow here. I don't know why. And they even got a Negro de Terra WhatsApp. I'm going to give you the meaning in English first. During the colonial period, Brazilian Indians were repeatedly referred to as Negros or Negras de Terra, Negroes of the land. All right. This is not what he used to say in Wikipedia. Hold on. I just want to get this. Negroes in the New World, the statement of a problem. He, Negro in the New World, has given rise to a situation which is of the utmost scientific importance and which, in the final analysis, may have far-reaching practical significance in affording an opportunity for study. that is the same thing as the use of terms Negro and Negro de Terra and Black to include persons of Native American ancestry. What people don't understand is it was used here. In Wikipedia, when I first looked this up, the definition of an American that changed. What was it? 16, what was it? 18, 20. What was this? Anyway, Negro de Terra is the same word they use here when they came upon us. Amerigo Vespucci and many others, De Soto, all of them encountered us. And it's all written and documented. So Negro de Terra, meaning, and it's very arrogant here, but it says blacks of the land. All that means is original people. Nigra, Negra, or Negro, Nergah, Negro, the regular one. It all is based on here. You got to remember that when the English came here, they spoke a different language, just like Irish and the Scots. And when I was in England, I heard like 3 different Gaelic and this another language. I was like, what is that? They said, well, this is what we spoke. Up to when? Shit, 1800s. I'm telling y'all, the English language y'all think started in England did not start there. Everything has been reversed and changed. Negra does not mean black. It means origin. Negro de Terra means original people of the land. Okay? Now, if you can find it in Wikipedia, you can search it as far back as possible because they didn't remove anything. There's a lot of crap up God knows how many pages. I went back one day just going back looking for something. I was like 16th, going scrolling, more information, the 16th time. I found exactly what was there when I first started using Wikipedia at the very top. So understand this. It means original people of the land. That's all it means. Yes. Just like black. The Dutch, they came here, 1700s, and they started calling us black. So they weren't calling us black in the 1600s. What the fuck happened? Why is that people can't simply take Negro de Terra by the Spaniards, the conquistadors, and understand exactly what they were saying? It didn't mean Mongolian because you got to remember the Asian slave trade steep down in South America, even in North America. That's right. They were putting on blue uniforms, fighting the gray. Chinese. Oh, yeah. Giving their portions. And 1820, when they came up on the coastline of so-called California. Montezuma's well and the blood trail and this, that, and other, hunting our people, murdering our people mercilessly. It was nothing but Asians with them.
The Asians, how do they play into, from the time that you're talking about?
Oh, because you got to remember, King Genghis Khan died in the 12th century. One of his nephews became a Muslim, and one of his nephews became a Christian, Cristianos. And we won't say Muslim, partook in Islam. And they were both to the Vatican, they were used as mercenaries to conquer the New World.
From this Pacific Ocean side.
That's right. And they come around the Horn as well, because you remember they went to the Philippines, Cuba, all them places. Cuba, they got their ass kicked. Haiti, they got their ass kicked, but there's some of them left over there. And all down North America, around the Horn and everything. Yeah. All the way to California for those few ships that made it. Now you got to remember, most of those ships were built right here in America. What was it? The Queens, whatever. I forget what it's called, because they didn't have no trees over there. They had to take a lot of trees from here to plant over there.
Right. And so these are the details about our history that we miss, and we skip on, and we keep repeating the same mistakes over because we're not taking these fine details and weaving them into the story. And I appreciate you for telling us that. Let's get this last question.
Hold on, but the Empress was asking about. I saw a question. Let me see. Can I scroll down on the questions here? No, I can't. Tell me, what will you identify yourself approaching the United Nations taking in a step further when claiming your authentic identity, heritage, and culture. Anasazi. First of all, the word Anasazi is from the Pelicans. It means, and in the Mongols, it means our enemy. It means the dark people of this continent. That's all Anasazi means. That's not the name of the people. They were considered more like the Twa. There you go. Amerindian, Indian, Indigenous, Black. No, I'm not going to use none of that shit. I always state when I went to the United Nations and I went there and took documents, I says, you know what? I'm aborigine. I'm not in any of your goddamn labels. They twitched in their seats and moved all kind of retarded and everything. All right? That was a long time ago. A long time ago.
Okay, well,
I don't recognize them.
This is what this dude is saying. Please don't end the show.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. But
you know,
everything comes to an end.
Yeah.
Well, me, brother Kerry, you know, he can bring me on anytime. Anytime. There's plenty more things to talk about. But he has one more question. Let's go ahead and get to that, brother Kerry.
Wait a minute. I just saw it. Trees were so okay. Here it is. We'll get it from the audience. Trees. Our relationship to trees. What do trees mean to us? Because I know things in nature we're really not into it. We really don't give a fuck.
First of all, we never chopped down trees because they were our living source.
Right.
We never cut them down. We took care of the land. We cultivated the soil, and we traveled with the seasons. We knew all this land. We would literally travel. Now, how we travel, I can't speculate or speak on, but we had horses and all kinds of stuff. See, we've allowed them to tell our stories, and this is fake. The tree, we lived amongst the trees just like we lived in wigwams and longhouses and all the sorts. We lived in the trees. These trees were grand. We're not talking about no little 120 and 200-foot tree. We're talking about saplings. We're talking about trees standing over 600 feet high. I had pictures that I shared. I think, Kerry, you might have seen them, where 30-something people, 34 Irishmen, indentured servants, chopping down trees, stood abreast of one tree. Now, that's not the circumference, abreast, 34. Big-ass Irish motherfuckers, limeys. That's the East Coast. That was in the Carolinas. So you tell me, what are those things that you're breathing from right now? No, this was the Amazon. This was the greatest. This was so-called Eve. This was the garden of, and even in the Midwest, there was trees everywhere. I go up on the mezzanines, I see trees laying down. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a flood. I remember there was supposedly a grand mudslide and a flood in America in the 1800s. That's why in 1820 they came up on here because a lot of our people were killed. So, solidified, petrified on these mezzanines out here. And I told them before I even went up and saw any of them, this used to be a grand forest here. Until you came, y'all spoiled the soil. Now we have to deal with the lies. And the earth's going to give up more. There you go.
This Facebook you asked, how do you identify yourself?
How did I identify? I decided to identify myself as James, as a living spirit. That's how I always identify myself.
It's just that simple. Because I think we're stuck on a lot.
Nothing special. There's no special words, partner. There's nothing grand out there. Let go of that. So you need to go back to the beginning of this video. Let go of all that crap. Stop trying to. You're already special. You're already special. You don't need nothing. Whatever your name is, your name. You don't have to change it to Mooney Foof and all this other dumb shit we do. All right. My name is James Charles Branch III. Otherwise, Yakov Netza. And that's all it is. Jim. They call me, and my great grandmother gave me my nickname, Home on the Shoulder, Red Wolf. Okay? Based on a mountain, a character from a mountain that we live by. And of course, the fox is always running in the backyard. That's how my great grandmother gave me my name. She said I was like that fox. I'm not going to share any other nicknames because those are, we can't give out a whole lot, y'all. You were given nicknames, and those nicknames are important. That's how you identify yourself. And if you want to get in details about the physical, then understand you are a spirit having a physical experience. Just like you are not black, but you're having a black experience. Just like the social dichotomy or the experiment we're dealing with, we're doing our best to assist and help everybody remove that dichotomy, to remove that linguistics, to remove that compression, to let ourselves breathe and our hearts beat and our minds think.
Well, brother, I want to thank you for coming on this day. The chat loves you. So the next one of them that acted, yo, man, when you gonna have James on again? I'm calling you.
He's gonna call anytime and anytime. Whenever the brother wanna have me on, he can have me on. It doesn't matter. And there's plenty more. Trust me, man. Trust me. I don't like throwing everything or, and there's plenty of other brothers and sisters where I'm at and have much information that I have yet to explore, which is very important. These right here are written by our hands. Don't believe in the enemy. When you want to get into the Omnibus Declaration, the Constitution, and all the little Bill of Rights and all the other crap, it's our work. Trust me. It's our work.
So you share that with us next time you come through.
Sure, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, definitely. You see what I'm all about. You see right here. This right here this is not a game. This is, I'm a Bible oath keeper. I'm a 3%er. Why am I part of that? Because of my veteran ties. Because I believe in the Constitution. I knew that my ancestors were Federalists. What is a Federalist? Somebody didn't want to see the land divided up and cut up as it has been. Louisiana once stretched from the side of Florida all the way over damn near California, and it was Florida and Virginia. There was nothing else. Well, that was in 1800s.
So
late 17, early 1800s. But we see where, like I said, when the Federalists were defeated, murdered off, killed, papers burnt, well, the Zionists did exactly what they knew they were going to do. And later on, be the Federal Reserve and everything else. To give people false hope, false declarations. Once we were removed, and to have people still running around talking about some goddamn fake ass Holocaust when we were the Holocaust. We're not Hebrew, we ain't Jewish, we ain't all that other Moors and Moroccan and all that other goofy shit. I can't with these people, bro. But I love them because I can't hate them for what they've accepted and have adapted. The thing is to come together, to have this consortium that's not based on drama, but be able to listen to those of us where the passion is not stifling, where it doesn't choke people, but it is based on, are you willing to be with me as a blood, a kin, a relations? Are you willing to be against me and treat me as the enemy and everything else that we have consummated in this life of lies?
Well, cool, man. You'll be back soon. I appreciate your time, brother.
Ah, man. Love you, bro.
All right. Love you back, man.
And I love all you guys, all you ladies and gents out there. Love y'all, man. And Achukma.